walking along the White River here, and just moments ago, 3 deer ran across the river. I could hear the splashing, and then just watched as they gracefully, energetically ran across the river and to the perceived safety of a new shore. And it got me thinking about a book that I'm reading right now called Drive-Thru Dreams. It's a book that's looking at the history of the fast food industry in the United States. Well, one of the little snippets that I was reading this morning was some of the things that happened as a result of new immigration acts that were established in the 60s. In 1960, 7 out of 8 immigrants who came to the United States, who crossed water to get to a place of perceived safety or better life, 7 out of 8 immigrants came from Europe. In 2010, 50 years later, about 90% of all immigrants who cross the water and come to perceived safety like the deer, 90% of all immigrants come from non-European countries. One of the things the book was pointing out was how that has resulted in an American palate that is much more adventurous as it pursues diverse cuisine. I like that. That's one path, that thought path that I was walking with this morning after seeing the deer. And it kind of comes alongside of a second path. That's the path of most of my life growing up, and then my vocational work has been in the area of religion, specifically Christianity. A lot of vocational work in the church. A lot of my life has been in the church. And unfortunately, one of the things that I've experienced in a lot of church work has been a very strong sense of partisanship. Our way is right, your way is wrong. I grew up in a very small denomination called Reformed Baptist. I jokingly, but also seriously, comment that Reformed Baptists, we named it Reformed Baptist because in our mind, the regular Baptists were going to hell. Definitely Catholics, Presbyterians, Lutherans were definitely going to hell, but most Baptists were as well because they believed in eternal security and other things like that. That's what I grew up with as a kid, thinking that our way, the Reformed Baptist way, was the only way to get into heaven. And that's a very strong partisan type of statement or lifestyle. What it reminds me of is a lot of the landscape that we walk with today. Yes, we are in a landscape where it is much more diverse ethnically, economically. There's significant diversity in our country, but there is significant partisanship. There is significant name calling. There is significant accusing the other and condemning the other and holding the other in disdain. And it kind of reminds me that in the midst of a culture that, whether it's religion or politics or economics, sociology, relationships, the landscape is littered with name calling and disdain. Out of all of that, I'm drawn to the idea that Jesus calls Matthew, who was a tax collector, to walk with him. And then later he calls Simon, who is a zealot, to walk with him. These two disciples could not be more different in their perspectives. One totally devoted to helping the Roman Empire grow, Matthew the tax collector, and one totally devoted to overthrowing and destroying the Roman Empire, Simon the zealot. Did Jesus just have a bad day, spent too much time out in the desert sun, and he didn't drink enough fluids, and so he wasn't thinking straight, and asked Simon to follow him, and then he goes, oh, what did I do? Or did he know exactly what he was doing? I think he knew exactly what he was doing. that he put two people around the table who normally would want to kill each other. And he was like, we have got to show the world how we love one another. Then they'll know that this way, the way of love and peace and kindness and grace and mercy and justice and hope is the right way. So that's part one. I'll give you part two here in a couple minutes.